So, one concern that you might have is about copyright. And I think you should talk to a lawyer. Like Mark Whittington is on this call. He'd be a great person to talk to. I am not a lawyer and I cannot provide legal advice. But I can tell you that the US Patent and Trade Office has some heartburn, maybe a lot of heartburn, about this issue because if an AI produced it entirely, they feel that that doesn't fall within their purview to register trademarks, I'm sorry, copyrights for works that were not created by humans. So they have declined to register a copyright for an image that was, I think, on a couple occasions that was created by AI. Photographs, interestingly enough, about a century ago, there was a guy who was in trouble for copying photographs. And he made the argument that photographs can't be copyrighted because a human points a camera at something and takes a picture, and the camera does all the work. And I don't understand why. And the Supreme Court said that's ridiculous. Of course, photographs can be copyrighted. So I don't understand why AI is different, but apparently it's being treated very differently. It is true that work by a human with the help of AI is copyrightable, but it's unclear how much human input or exactly what that would. I don't think there's a standard. I think it's their judgment. So if copyright is integral to defending your exam, I think that you should be worried about this concern. On the other hand, and I don't want to like you know this to me this is if it's a problem for you then it's a problem for you, but I don't actually think a lot of the programs that I'm familiar with are registering copyrights for their exam or get a lot of value out of suing people for copyright infringement. And clearly there are other places that would. So if that's a problem, that's definitely something that you should be concerned about. Another concern is, do my inputs get incorporated into the model? And somebody said secondhand that that somebody on this call said that you lose all your IP rights to an item as soon as you put it into an AI model. Again, that sounds like a lawyer question, but the fine print on the terms of use for the OpenAI terms of use, which is what we use, says that we do not use content that you provide through our API to develop or improve our services. They may use content that you provide in a different way, like through the ChatGPT window. Like they might use "Every Good Boy Deserves" that I typed into the ChatGPT window to improve their services. There's a form you can fill out to opt out. So Certiverse uses API calls to do all of its interaction with the model, and so I guess that they're not storing or using the data that we send them. And I said that to somebody, and they said, "Well, I don't trust OpenAI." I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't, but the reason that I would be predisposed to trust them is that the thing that they really need to help improve their services is the thumbs up or thumbs down, along with the input and the output. They use the thumbs down to indicate that the model is doing something inappropriate, and the API doesn't provide any way of doing that. So I don't know that they would have any value in collecting data through the API. And I'm also not sure how this is different from Googling. Like, I don't think anybody has any agreements with Google that they won't use your search term. So maybe you have a similar rule that you never Google exam content. But I know I've Googled exam content and found items on the web. I don't think that exam program lost their IP rights because I Googled it. But anyhow. Um, and then another question people have is about the security matter. If I use AI to generate items, can't somebody generate exactly the same items? So in our research with psychometric items, items generated with identical prompts are often similar, like they might be item enemies. But they have different keys, they're not identical. But I do think that you should guard the security of your prompts. And I'm not sure that this is really all that different from a non AI workflow. And that's regarding the raw output of the model. I think you should allow your SMEs to select their own item topic. So in the Certiverse system, when you create an item, the subject matter expert thinks of a grain like this item should be about the unidimensionality assumption of the 3PL model or about testing that unidimensionality assumption or whatever it is, and they type that into the prompt, and that way two people who are writing for the same area of the blueprint won't create a prompt that asks for exactly the same item. I think that's a really good best practice. And also, your subject matter experts, according to my research, should definitely be editing the items that come out of the system, and and that might help create different items. But it is true that that very similar prompts produce very similar output. And then one other thing that's interesting is IP infringement or duplication. There's this feeling that the model has scoured the internet and memorized everything on the internet, and if it encountered an item, then it's going to repeat it. So there's this paper by McCoy et al. That looks at long string copying. And they have some comments, but the third comment is the one that I find most interesting. The models will sometimes copy substantially, in some cases duplicating passages over 1,000 words from the training set. That sounds scary. They call that long string copying. But it only occurs when two things happen. The text has to appear frequently in the training data set. So, like they say that there's a Wikipedia article about a particular boat race that appears, I think, 153 times in the input data set. And so exact strings from that Wikipedia article or exact strings about that get copied out. And the other thing that has to happen is, of course, you have to write a prompt that encourages it to write about that. So the other examples are like poems that it sees. I have a hard time understanding how that would pop out. But that is true that it can copy from the input data set if a piece of the input is repeated often. And I haven't searched every item that I've ever generated, but I did Google a lot of items, especially at first, or Binged a lot of items, especially at first. And I never, ever, not once, ever found the exact text of the item that the AI generated on the internet. That certainly doesn't mean that it never happens, but I don't think it's a common problem.